Welcome back to Blacks in Motion. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of these issues that's rearing its head in sports right now, but it's actually a bigger problem in our society. The first one I want to talk about is race relations. Yes, racism still does exist. And look, the Atlanta Hawks and the NBA are dealing with this right now. Supposedly, there was a scout that wrote some bad racial derogatory comments about Luol Deng. They were repeated by GM Danny Ferry, who happens to be from and has worked for the Spurs before. So I was a little saddened by that he wouldn't use a little bit more discretion. But at the end of the day, racism and how you project these things upon the people that you work with, your neighbor and everything, it comes down to responsibility. It's how the person projects it onto someone else. And I would expect that those high-level executives would have a little bit more responsibility. So I do take my hat off to the whistleblower that was on the ownership group that put a little light on the situation. Now, for some of us that live in reality, hey, it wasn't a big surprise because unfortunately, people still think that way. But you would expect for things like that not to be such an issue when it comes to something as a big business as the NBA. Now, going over to the NFL, of course, violence, domestic violence, abuse, these things have always been in our society. And now, I think it's a little unfair that some of the players are being tied to this because they're saying, oh, they play a violent sport, so that automatically makes them violent. Hey, I do think that there is a relationship there. You have to be able to cut it on and cut it off. You can't roughhouse with your kids and your wife and your family if you've been roughhousing with your friends all day on the football field. You have to be able to draw the line somewhere. But like I said, violence and racism are two bigger issues that affect our society, and sometimes we forget. This sports world, this NFL, this NBA, these different things, they are all part of the world. And one thing is consistent in all those things, and that's people. And until people decide to change and get better, then that's when we'll start seeing situations get better. Hey, I'm not trying to educate you on anything, but I am trying to shed a little light on some things that should make you think a little bit more. But hey, maybe you think that I should just stick to straight sports. And maybe you think that you should keep all those guys on your fantasy team no matter what kind of year they have. And either way, let me hear from you. You can always holler at me, Cliff, at blackvideonews.com. And as always, love us and stay logged on right here to Blacks in Motion.